So Ryan Grimm and Emily Jashinsky of Breaking Points had Michael Knowles on the show, and Michael Knowles is what I would call an authoritarian right winger. So like he's not a libertarian type like Ron Paul, but yeah, Michael Knowles went on and decided to talk about how he thinks the Republican Party is responding to the moral crisis in this country. And Ryan Grimm brought up Trump, and Michael Knowles went on to embarrass himself. So let's take a listen.
The Republicans, bizarrely, you wouldn't have predicted it 20 years ago, have become the party that are responding to the real moral crisis brought about by markets and labor.
I mean, it's just funny that Donald Trump is the guy leading that party to its, so it's moral victory. So I think
I don't know why it's funny. I really,
the guy has probably promised to pay for. I don't think he's paid for any abortions because he doesn't pay his contractors or subcontractors. Why would he actually go through on paying for an abortion? But you don't think he's like suggested to somebody that he would pay for their abortion? I mean, look at the guy. Like the guy's life is a caricature of immorality. Like it's fine. Like he can do whatever he wants. I don't care.
I don't know. I don't really speculate.
Like the idea that like this is the guy that would be a role model for this moral rectitude is kind of comical.
Ryan, if you were religious, you wouldn't find it comical. You might find it delightful, but you wouldn't find it comical because God uses all sorts of imperfect people for his ends. If you're Christian, you certainly believe that. And so the left, ironically, I was speaking with a very close left-wing friend of mine who said she really hated Trump. And she just is a good person, unlike Trump. And what's funny is that was Trump's answer. He says, I try to be a good person. I try not to commit sins. But of course, all sin and fall short of the glory of God. So you're speculating without any basis on all sorts of private sins that Trump, in principle, could have committed, even though, again, there's no evidence for it.
Unfortunately, we don't have to do as much speculation as
I mean, he's definitely an open adulterer. That much is.
He's lived a very flamboyant life, and he's done all sorts of terrible things, and he's been totally open about a lot of those things. But I suppose the point here, from my perspective as a Christian, is, yeah, right. That is how God works. God uses flawed vessels. And believe it or not, Donald Trump, because he's had the spotlight on him for a long time, it's very easy to say he did that terrible thing, and he did that awful thing, and he did that evil thing. But believe it or not, Ryan, you've done very evil things too. And if you think that God can use you to do good things, if God can use me to do good things, it shouldn't be surprising that God can use Trump. But what Christians say on Easter Sunday is they say, oh, happy fault that won for us so great, so glorious a Redeemer. They actually celebrate the fall of man, the original sin, because it can not that it's a good thing in itself, but it actually brought about this great glory and redemption. So I don't know. I think Americans like a comeback story. I think Americans like redemption, and they like grace. And I think the gracelessness of the left, the total lack of charity of the left, has repelled a lot of people.
A redemption.
Yeah. What a lot of cope. Holy cow. It's like Trump just keeps showing himself to be a worse and worse person than we thought. Let's not even get into those recent Epstein revelations. But I mean, year after year during his time in politics, we've seen what a disastrous person he is. Not just as a president, but like how morally flawed he is. It's gotten worse. It hasn't gotten better. And Michael Knowles' cope is, well, God uses imperfect people to do good things. First of all, imperfect is definitely a sugar-coated way of describing Donald Trump. I mean, this is a guy who cheats on his wives with porn stars. This is a guy who talks about shooting someone on Fifth Avenue. This is a guy who has talked about using the American military against U.S. citizens. This is a guy who's talked about terminating the Constitution. So really, what good ends are we talking about here? What good ends is God trying to achieve by using this more than simply imperfect person? What does God really want the billionaires and multimillionaires to get a permanent tax cut? Is that it? Is God big on wanting to deregulate the environment? Does God want a ridiculous foreign policy and like ridiculous tweets starting beef with world leaders? Are those the ends that God really wants? I don't think so. He talks about that, Trump is actually probably one of the less immoral people as far as politicians go. And we can't obviously pretend that Trump is the only immoral politician. There are plenty of immoral politicians in both parties. But let's not equivocate. Trump has had a longer life than most of them, a longer career than most of them. He's got a thick stack of immoral acts piled up. There's no denying it. Killing an 8-year-old American girl in his first military raid. I mean, it's not pretty. So I don't think we need to compare politicians, but Trump would be among the worst ones, even if he is arguably not the worst. Knowles also deflects by saying that Ryan Grimm has done evil things. This is again just equivocating, throwing your hands up in the air and saying, "Hey, nobody's perfect. We're all kind of bad down to our core." It's a way to totally deflect from criticism of Trump. And yeah, certainly Ryan Grimm. I mean, I don't know much about the guy, but hasn't done anything like what Trump has as a human being. So, and he's not a president, not a U.S. president. And being a U.S. president gives you opportunities to do immoral things while you are in office, both in your official capacity and as a human being. So yeah, this was pretty much just the typical embarrassing Trump cope that we see. I wonder how far it needs to go. Like, could Trump actually shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and Michael Knowles would see that and go, "Well, that looks quite immoral to me, I will admit, but you know what? God sometimes uses imperfect people to achieve good ends." Like, how far does he need to go? Does he need to personally kill a baby? I mean, we know Michael Knowles is allegedly big on saving babies. Only in the context of abortion, though. Like, would that get him over the edge? I don't know. We've just seen the goalposts get moved further and further back when it comes to Donald Trump and his time in politics. I saw a tweet that actually seemed to summarize it pretty well. And it said something about how supporting Trump in 2024 just seems like people who they got tricked in 2016, but they're instead of regretting it and admitting it, they doubled down and made it their whole personality. This is what it's come to. I just wonder how much worse this guy could get between 2024 and 2028 that would, shed him some voters. Like, either if he's president or if, believe it or not, if he decides to run in 2028, which he has said that he will not. But we can bet that his word is not set in stone there. I could see him thinking about running in 2028, actually. And he would be the oldest nominee ever again, which would be pretty insane. But yeah, that's my coverage of Michael Knowles versus Ryan Grimm. Pretty good job on the part of Ryan Grimm on holding his feet to the fire. Bad job to Michael Knowles on coping and embarrassing himself. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe to support the channel. And thank you very much for watching. I look forward to speaking to you in the next video.